Elisha, the prophet and successor of Elijah, performed numerous miracles as recorded in the books of 1 Kings and 2 Kings. Elisha's miracles in order. First, parting the Jordan River. After Elijah was taken up, Elisha took his master's mantle, struck the waters of the Jordan River, and the waters divided, allowing him to cross on dry ground. Second, healing the water of Jericho. Elisha purified a polluted spring in Jericho by throwing salt into it, making the water clean and life-giving. Third, cursing the mocking youths. As Elisha traveled to Bethel, a group of youth mocked him, saying, "Go up, you baldhead." He cursed them, and 2 female bears emerged from the forest, and mauled 42 of them. Fourth, filling a valley with water, without rain. When the armies of Israel, Judah, and Edom were dying of thirst, Elisha prophesied that water would fill the valley. The next morning, water miraculously flowed from Edom without rain. Fifth, providing an unending supply of oil. A widow of a prophet was in debt, and creditors wanted to take her sons as slaves. Elisha instructed her to borrow empty jars and pour out her small amount of oil. Miraculously, the oil kept flowing until all the jars were full, providing enough to pay her debts. Sixth, raising the Shunammite woman's son. A Shunammite woman who had shown kindness to Elisha lost her son to illness. Elisha prayed, stretched himself over the boy, and the child was restored to life. During a famine, Elisha's servants made a stew with wild gourds, but it was poisonous. Elisha threw flour into the pot, and the stew became safe to eat. A man brought Elisha 20 loaves of barley and some grain. Miraculously, Elisha multiplied the food, and it fed 100 men with leftover food remaining. Naaman, the commander of the Syrian army, suffered from leprosy. Following Elisha's instruction, he dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan River and was healed. Elisha's servant Gehazi greedily took gifts from Naaman after Elisha refused them. As a judgment, Elisha cursed Gehazi, and he became leprous. A prophet's disciple lost a borrowed axe head in the Jordan River. Elisha threw a stick into the water, and the iron axe head miraculously floated. Elisha repeatedly warned the king of Israel about Syria's military plans, as God revealed them to him. When the Syrian army sought to capture Elisha, he prayed, and God struck them with blindness. Elisha led the blind Syrians into Samaria, where their sight was restored. Instead of killing them, Israel gave them food and released them, ending their raids. Samaria was under siege, causing severe famine. Elisha prophesied that food would be abundant the next day. When an officer doubted Elisha's prophecy of food abundance, Elisha foretold his death. The officer was trampled in the city gate the next day. Elisha prophesied that Hazael would become king of Syria, and that he would bring great suffering to Israel. Elisha sent a prophet to anoint Jehu as king of Israel, who would later fulfill God's judgment on Ahab's house. As Elisha lay dying, King Joash of Israel came to him. Elisha instructed him to strike the ground with arrows, symbolizing Israel's victories over Syria. Even after his death, Elisha's bones had power. A dead man was thrown into his tomb, and upon touching Elisha's bones, the man was revived. Summary of Elisha's miracles. Total miracles, 20. Types of miracles, healing and provision. Healing leprosy, multiplying oil and food, purifying water and stew. Raising the dead, the Shunammite's son, the man touching Elisha's bones. Judgment, cursing the mocking youths, Gehazi's leprosy. Nature miracles, parting the Jordan, floating axe head, prophecies, predicting kings, victories, and famine relief. Elisha's miracles reflected God's power, mercy, and justice, establishing him as one of the greatest prophets in Israel's history.